The finale is Tuesday, and we're down to our final four couples. Hannah and Dylan, Demi and Christian, Chris and Katie, Clay and Nicole. Who will stay together? Who will get engaged? Will any of them break up? So let's jump into this preview and see what we can find out before Bachelor in Paradise's finale on Tuesday.
This is scary. Paradise is over.
It's the moment of truth.
I need to know that this is real.
The truth is that I'm just scared.
Everybody's scared. By the look on Nicole's face here, I'm guessing Clay hasn't dropped the love bomb on their fantasy suite date. And as per usual, Clay is face-palming. Then it's Chris and Katie in bed, so after their fantasy suite. No surprise here, as we've speculated they'll be going much further than that this upcoming episode. Demi also scared. Could be the feelings still left over from last episode, or could be the jitters of an upcoming engagement.
Will Demi get cold feet?
I don't know if I can love her the way that she deserves.
So here's Demi and Christian headed to their commitment ceremony. I don't really know what else to call it, because not everyone gets engaged here. Now, we've seen this shot before, just in reverse, and I can't imagine anything bad happening between the two. The only question is, will there be an engagement or not?
Can Clay commit to Nicole?
Yes or no? Clay, do you love me?
Then we have Clay and Nicole once more. Nicole asking, yes or no, do you love me, Clay? We'll see if the pressure of the commitment ceremony and the cameras gets Clay to say it or not. Either way, it's not a good sign for your relationship. And be sure, if Clay doesn't say it here, I gotta think Nicole walks out. My feeling is either A, he says it even though I'm guessing he's not ready to, and then that causes trouble for them outside of Paradise, or B, he doesn't and Nicole leaves. Now, B does leave a redemption possibility, like she leaves and then after the show, when there's less pressure, Clay comes back. But I wouldn't hold my breath for that possibility.
Who will leave engaged?
I love you so much. But
Okay, the clip here starts with an engagement that then cuts to Christian and Demi. But from past preview breakdowns, we know that this is actually Dylan and Hannah getting engaged. This ring is the one Chris B uses to propose to Katie. I'll show you why in a second. Then we have a big ol' fake out in Hannah saying, I love you, but. As I said before, we know the two are going to get engaged, so don't worry, this isn't necessarily a bad but. There's a lot of things she could be saying here. I love you, but more than that, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Or, I love you, but your breath really stinks, please go eat a mint before you propose to me. And who's to say these aren't from two different sentences? Take a look at this again.
I love you so much. But
I love you so much, cut to Dylan, then cut back to Hannah, but. So definitely could be a savvy editing fake out here as well. They like to do stuff like this to make it more dramatic.
Broken-hearted.
I am scared of what the next step is.
Speaking of editing fake outs, we've got another here. Now, we've got so much evidence that these two are getting engaged, and even more has piled up. In all likelihood, this shot of Katie seemingly crying is actually her covering her face in shock as she's getting proposed to. You know, like how you see it in the movies. And if the sound clip of crying there is actually from this moment, the crying's of happiness. First off, the ring from before. Check out the shirt, which matches Chris here. Not only that, but take a look at Katie's nail polish here. Then take a look at the engagement shot here. Same nail polish. While we're here, let's also peep this watch on the man's arm. If we jump back to this shot, we can see the same one on Chris's wrist. So this bit with them walking off and then a van pulling away, super fake out. Unless, of course, that van is taking them to an engagement party.
All your favorites are back on one stage.
If you continue to talk, we're gonna have a serious problem. Cause you're a bitch, Jordan, that's why. Cause you're a bitch.
And everyone's gonna be back for the tell-all. I tried checking out this shot to see if there are any clues to grab, like if couples are sitting together or not, but there's not a lot to go off here. I mean, Dylan's not sitting with Hannah, and they're like the rock-solid couple, and so John Paul Jones not sitting next to Tayshia doesn't mean they haven't gotten back together, which I'll talk more about in a second. I tried to see if there was an engagement ring on Demi's finger here, but nothing. Though they wouldn't likely let her wear one anyway, even if they do get engaged. Of course, then there's Jordan and Christian, the other Christian, not Demi's Christian, bickering once more. And the security guard is like, oh man, I thought this Bachelor reunion gig was going to be easy work.
All due respect, but what the is wrong with you?
It's an explosive reunion show.
I didn't think people would stoop that low.
Your actions trample people's hearts.
We then get a number of one-liners from various people which really could be directed at anyone. Onyeka here could be talking about anything that anyone did. Lashing out at JPJ for what he did at Chris and Crystal's wedding. Or maybe at Blake for Stagecoach and then releasing his and Kaylin's texts. Or something completely different. Katie is upset as well. Again, could be anything. Something random, something to do with Chris, we don't quite know. Though I will say there are some noticeable absences in this shot from before. Nicole and Clay, as well as Chris and Katie. Also Christian. Demi's Christian. I have nothing for you on that front, but it is worth noting. Then Blake saying I didn't think people would stoop that low has got to be about Stagecoach. And Angela's response, your actions trample people's hearts, could be about Blake, but could also be directed towards someone else. Considering their past, maybe Clay? Again, this is all just speculation based off of really quick one-liners.
What's happened since everyone left Paradise?
Okay, pause. Now this is interesting. We've got Chris and Katie here, and if you need proof, check out the same dress here. Both are crying. No engagement ring on Chris. Again though, that could be producers forcing them to take it off for the filming of the tell-all. But it's also interesting that Chris is in super casual attire. Looks like maybe Katie being upset from earlier could be about Chris, and the two have been having trouble since getting engaged.
You don't really know me, and that's okay, but you're not so innocent.
I've got nothing else to say.
Oh, this has got to be a fake out. Hannah saying this apparently to Dylan, or someone on her left, because there are a lot more people on her left than just Dylan. Notably, Tayshia, who's had a number of things to say about Hannah in her private interviews this season, especially earlier on in the show.
We all defended Hannah going for Dylan and thinking Blake's a bad guy, but really, Hannah has the power.
Then Kaylin here crying with, quote, nothing else to say. Now this post from Instagram with her and Dean still together that was posted after this week's episodes seems to indicate that the two are still going strong. So I wouldn't say this is her and Dean having broken up. More likely it has to do with Blake and the whole Stagecoach stuff with her, and then the eventual releasing of her private text messages.
Out how it all ends.
John Paul Jones, do it! Do it! Nah, there's no way. But it does seem to indicate that him and Tayshia are getting back together. We've talked all season about these Instagram shots that show the two were possibly still together after Paradise, but then last episode, they broke up. Of course, many times in the past, couples have split at the end of Paradise and then reconnected after the show finished airing or on the tell-all. I'd say, based off the timing of these Instagram posts, that Tayshia and JPJ got together sometime after the show finished airing and are already a couple during the taping of the tell-all.
The moment you've all been waiting for, ladies and gentlemen, our next Bachelor.
And then, it's The Bachelor. And I can already tell you, it's not Mike. Take a look at Mike's socks here in this shot, and then this shot of The Bachelor without any socks on at all. Also, when you freeze it here, though they did a good job of keeping him in the shadows, it's a white dude's ankle. In all likelihood, this seems to be Peter. The build also seems to indicate that, as opposed to someone like Derek, for example. And it's hardly a surprise. I'm sure the producers see him as a safe choice, and not to mention he has a huge social media following. Now, that's nothing against Peter, of course. I'll still be watching, and am still excited for next season. And that's where the preview ends. Now, there's going to be a lot to get through next Tuesday. I repeat, next Tuesday, as Dancing with the Stars will be airing on Monday. So just one more episode, and again, it's on Tuesday. Don't freak out if it's Monday and Paradise isn't on. To sum up, for the finale, it appears like we have 2 guaranteed engagements with Hannah and Dylan, as well as Chris and Katie. Then there's one possibility of an engagement in Demi and Christian, which, despite the troubles on display the last couple of episodes, they have talked about it and are open to it. Then there's Nicole and Clay, who at most is going to get an I love you and then leave together. That's at most, however. This do you love me at the very end does not bode well for any relationship. So of all the couples, this is where I have the most doubts. But whatever goes down, we're just going to have to wait till Tuesday to find out for sure. And I, for one, am super stoked. So I'll see you all on Tuesday the 17th for the finale, and then of course our usual recap here on YouTube. Until then, Bachelor Fantake, out.
John.